Hello, Terry. Hi. Terry, I saw you last night, right? You were in the cooking class. I'm pretty sure that I saw you. Wanted to say hello. Here we are on V-Day, Valentine's Day, so I thought I would show up with lots of love and term this as loving your beautiful bones. So who else is here with me? Terry's here, I see. Getting ready to practice. Practice makes perfect. Terry, how are you doing? Anything you want to ask or suggest? But Esta, hi. And Esta, I think now that I see you in Stronger Bones Lifestyle, and I saw you last night in the mineral rich cooking class, I'd love to know your comments so far about the community and or the cooking class. It's definitely posting a lot more information. The community just posted some information today about cookware, which is very important. And one thing I think you'll notice with me is it's so many things. There's all the things. It's not just about what we shouldn't eat or what we should eat. It's all of the things, because today my podcast launched, my 100th episode, and it's a solo episode with me. And the topic is on 100 factors that lead to bone loss, because there are so many things that contribute to bone loss. And when we learn more and more, then we can actually turn the ship around on bone loss, reverse disease. And that is the goal. So if you have not listened to my podcast yet, Stronger Bones Lifestyle Podcast, that is where I discuss the lifestyle approach to bone health, because it is a lifestyle. So Stronger Bones Lifestyle. I would love it if you could go on and, hopefully I spelled it right, go on and listen to some episodes, give me some ratings, some suggestions. Let me know who you'd like to hear from. I interview mostly functional medicine physicians on the new approach to bone health, which is not using Adexa and medications in the way that we have for 30 years, but rather empowering women to do all that they can to work on keeping their bones strong for the rest of their lives, because that is in our hands and we've been disempowered for far too long, and that's going to change. So you're here to do a lot of stuff today, right now, in this next hour plus, that's going to do that. And then there's a lot of other factors you need to do as well. So I would like to hear about that from you, Esta. If you can comment to me here. Lauren, hi, welcome. You're good, Terry. That's great. Beth, hello. I don't know. Do you guys see my post from Strong Bones Lifestyle? Anyway, so please go on and give me some ratings, because the more ratings I get, the more views I get, the more people that come, the more the message gets out there. And every day I have a conversation with a woman that was pressured/bullied into taking a pill, because it's the only option we have in conventional medicine. And it's run by big pharma, big insurance, and big food. And so learning the other parts, all the parts that we can do, especially those of you that are naturally minded, is really important. So if you like, subscribe if you would like to subscribe. And if there's not any questions that you have for me, I'd love to get started today on loving our beautiful bones with an emphasis on our hips. So I'm going to go back there and get started. At least I know some of you that are here. Thanks for letting me know that. All right. Okay. So the emphasis on today is the word love. And when we love something, we take care of it. We pay extra special attention to it. And I remember one time one of my yoga teachers said, treat yourself half as good as you treat the people you love in your life. And it was so profound, because as a woman, and I think that this goes across the board, we are the ones that bear 80% of the illnesses are by women. And in the bone health world, 80% of those diagnosed with osteoporosis are female, are women. And so loving ourselves, I want this to be a very self-care, self-love practice. And that means that you pay really close attention to all of the facets. We work on breath, we work on mind management, mental emotional management, Because when you can manage this, then you manage the biochemistry that ensues below. So to find that internal bone building balance, we need to have a balanced mind. So balancing your mind is an important thing to do. And then we will move into loving specific areas of our body. We'll love our whole body. We'll give extra love and attention today to our hips, to creating space in the joint to reduce pain, and creating the appropriate stress to gently suggest we need more, we want more. So today the theme is love, lots of emphasis on the hips. Today for the practice, the block, the strap, and the blanket are the typical or traditional props that I use for most of the practices I teach. And today I'd like to introduce a bolster. You may have one at home. These are yoga bolsters. The company that I love is called Hugger Mugger because they're super substantial. They don't break down over time. I've bought some less expensive ones that have broken down. But a bolster is a really nice prop for restorative yoga, for anything that's going to relax your body and your mind or help you create more space in your body. And the more space we have in our joints, the less pain we'll have. And the more mobility we'll have, and the more you move, the more you build. So a prop, a bolster, and if you don't have this, go ahead and grab some pillows, preferably pillows from your sofa or something that's a little harder than a bed pillow. So get that, or if you don't have a bolster, you could use a blanket. And a blanket folded up into thirds or fourths could act like a bolster. And so I'm going to put this underneath my heart today, across my body here today. I'm going to do this with the bolster. You do it with the blanket, you do it with whatever you have. We want the maximum place that the bolster is behind your heart. We want to really facilitate this back bend, stretch the muscles of posture, the shoulders, the pectorals, and all the tissues in the arms, because we need to correct our posture for healthy bones and to minimize compression spinal fractures. So let me move this while you get your props, if you're going to be getting props. So hopefully you were able to get whatever you needed for the practice. So this is going to go across where my heart is going to go. And the block at the back has 3 levels. You could be on the highest level, the middle, or the shallow level. I am going to start with the middle, and you can see what you need. If you have a tushy that likes to be supported, you can put a blanket underneath your tushy or put your blanket off to the side. Really depends on you and your body. Well, maybe I'll use this here at a really low fold, so a really light fold here today for my buttocks. The low back will not be supported. It is the middle back that's going to be supported. When you come down, making sure you maintain that space in the front of your spine and not collapsing, just always raising awareness. Never can say that too much. So when you come down, you want the top part of your back to be free and not have whatever it is you have under your body all the way up towards your neck. You want some freedom so that there is a downward movement of your head. They say the average head is about 8 to 12 pounds. So I say 10. And then I already know that I need to go lower here. So I'm going to move mine down lower. And then when you come into this, the knees bent, feet wider than the body, knees falling in towards each other is a nice way to support yourself. And then you take your arms up and out to the side. Now, anyone with rotator cuff tears or shoulder issues, if you go too big with the stretch, it could aggravate or poke the monster of pain. So if you do have tears that you are working around or with, I wouldn't recommend a very big stretch like this. And then hopefully you can see that bolster, see how that shape is in my body is the back bend, stretching the front of the body, stretching the muscles of the front of the body, opening up the front of the body. And then at first, it's a good idea to keep your eyes open so you could feel familiar with your surroundings, signal to your nervous system that everything is okay here. From there, we start to go inward. We start to go deeper. So if you are able to close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes, and then become a witness, noticing what you notice about your body. The stretch, the sides, one to the other. And then on this day, focusing on love, let's do the breath of peace. The breath of peace is an equal count on the inhale and the exhale. And when we count and we give our mind something to do, that helps to manage stress. So let's prepare. Take your jaw, wiggle your jaw side to side. Open and close your mouth. And then let your mouth relax. Feel the tension release from the opening that you just did. And let your jaw settle, let your jaw release. And start to pay attention to the breath at the nostrils. Feel the coolness of the breath outside your body coming into your body. Feel it going in your nostrils. And now breathe deeper. Go to your heart. So energetically, the heart chakra is where the right to love and be love exists. So breathe into this part of you that loves and is loved. And with each breath, let that expand. Be accepting of love from others. Thinking of those that you love. And then bring your breath deeper to the lower ribs and to the belly. Keep breathing. Now let's do the breath of peace. The breath of peace, we're going to do 6 on the inhale, 6 on the exhale. And part of breath work in yoga is that we count in our own mind and we occupy our mind with counting. This distracts us from the thoughts that we have over and over and over. So I'll begin the count, 6 for the inhale, 6 for the exhale, and then you go on your own and do the counting yourself. So let's prepare by taking a big exhale. And let's begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue on your own using the 6 and 6. And if that's too much, try 5 and 5 or 4 and 4. Finishing the breath that you're on, take 2 more breaths. Keep your mind busy with counting. And when you finish that second breath, give the breath back to your body. And start to bring movement into your body. If you'd like to come into a fully outstretched position, you could explore if that feels okay, depending on what props you have behind your body, depending on what's going on in your joints. Explore movement. One thing I'd like to say is if you have issues in your tissues, if you have shoulder issues, back issues, wrist issues, whatever it is you have, explore movement. Don't stop moving because you have an issue. If you've been told not to move by a doctor, physical therapist, or chiropractor, of course, you need to listen to the advice and recommendations. But don't stop moving because there's discomfort. Try to move to the place you can, because once we stop using our body, we lose that ability to use it. And I observe this all the time in teaching live yoga classes and in my own experience with my hip. So try to keep as much movement in your body as you can. Explore the edges of discomfort, listening to what you need to not do if you've been advised not to, but then exploring movement. Go ahead and bend your knees. Bring yourself all the way off your prop onto the floor to let your spine calibrate here. And then from here, you want to push yourself up. So make sure you use the pushing muscles of the front of the body to strongly push yourself up to seated. I'd like to say a little bit more about that. I have a lot of students I've worked with over the years that have an issue or an injury in their body. Maybe they fractured the wrist, or they had a knee replacement, or they had spinal fusions. And they tell me about their issue, and I say, okay, are there things you shouldn't do? Have you been told not to do something? And they say no. But yet they're so protective. And it's not just that we're protective, our body is protective. Our body has the memory of the pain and discomfort of an issue, of an injury, of a fracture. But it's really important to keep mobility in your body and to keep finding mobility in your body. So explore what you can do and get rid of the word can't. To explore bringing something into your body. So we'll move here with a flow to move through the spine, to roll through the hip and the shoulder, which are ball and socket joints, Doing this in a loving way and also being very aware of your movement patterns when you do this. So having a bolster can make this a manageable thing to do. Also, folding your blanket so you support your knees. If you have knee issues, which a lot of people do, then you could use extra support. So you could double up your blanket or double up your mat or purchase pads that you can actually lean on or rest on that are going to be helpful. Same thing with your wrists, modify, don't avoid. So that would be my thing, is modify movement, don't avoid movement. So with a prop here, it could be blankets, taking your hands so that they're right alongside your bolster or your blankets. They're not too far ahead of you or too out the side. They're right here. And keep them wide. And then slowly start to rock forward, flatten the toenails onto the ground, and then slowly start to rock back. Keep your head lifted so that your neck and your upper back have to work here. Forward and back. You're moving through the hips, you're moving through the wrists, you're moving through the shoulders, you're lubricating your joints, you're exploring movement, you're paying attention to how does this feel. Press your fingers into the floor, back and forth. Keep your head lifted. Let's go a little deeper if that's appropriate for you. Can you come forward so that maybe your pelvis touches the bolster? And then can you move back so maybe your forehead touches the bolster? Inhaling when we come forward, when our body opens, when we can receive breath. Exhaling back, forward, and back. Now, when you go back, you're going to feel the front of your body stretch. This is a safe way to stretch the spine with osteoporosis, not rounding the spine, keeping it nice and long. When you come forward, you stretch the front of your body, the muscles of the hip complex, the muscles of the core, the stabilizing muscles. Moving back in the exhale, the body closes off. You lengthen your back, you lengthen your front when you come forward. One more in each direction. Go slow and notice the patterning in your joints as you move back and forth. Is it symmetrical? Are you even? And then bring yourself forward, let your body rest. And if you're not resting on the bolster, then maybe move it forward and see what happens with that support. It can be really nice and supportive. Hands are close to the bolster. Spread your fingers. This is a back bend, stretching the front of your body. I want you to look up with your nose as if you were sniffing something up high and look back as far as you can. Exhale back to center. Inhale, look up with your nose and back to center. Notice if at any point your neck needs to go down, or can you keep it up high the whole time? One more each direction. And then bring yourself back to center. Bring yourself all the way out. Come all the way up onto your shins. Here, the wrists took a lot there, a lot of weight bearing. We need these to be strong, the bones of the forearm. We need the range of motion to stay in our wrists. And so using our wrists, weight bearing on our wrists is important. Move your wrists around. Now we are weight bearing in our hips, so we're starting to add pressure to the hips. Weight bearing here. Body has to manage itself. So this is a form of weight bearing, a little bit more gentle than being on the feet because we took the foot position, the ankle joint, and the knee out of managing this. And now the hips are what's managing you. And you've got your feet on the ground to help you here. So the feet are going to help you. You're managing your hips. Take your legs a little wider here. So come a little wider with your hips. And let's go around in a circular pattern, as if there was a Sharpie marker coming off your tailbone. And you're drawing a big circle or oval on the floor below you. Notice which one you're able to get. You're rolling around in your hips, the muscles on the side of the body, the front of the hip, and the muscles of the back, moving them around. And then go in the other direction, back to the side, forward. And then bring yourself back up to center. Walk your legs back a little more. Let's do some stretching for the hips. If you do have socks on, good to take socks off here if you can. Get a little bit more feeling of the floor or the earth. So move your bolster off to the side of your blankets. Come to sit on the blanket and let's do a little hip opening. So take your legs pretty wide all the way off the mat and walk your arms closer to your body so that you get more narrow across your chest instead of wide where you could collapse. So you walk your hands back to your center, and then we're going to do windshield wiper here in a seated position. So you let one knee come in and one knee go to the side, feeling the stretch wherever you do in your body, internal and external hip rotation. You're also going to feel something up here in your shoulders. The bottom part of your body, your pelvis is twisting away from the rib cage. There's a little spinal rotation here as well. So loving our hips, loving our spine, creating some forces at the base of the spine and in the hip complex. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's come up off of the arms for a second and let's stretch our legs. It's good here to use a bolster or a block to push away from. Come into a wide straddle, might be a challenge for some of you or for many of you. This is the adductors, the inner thigh muscles, and also the hamstrings may play a role here. If you have a block here, you could push away to make sure that you stay nice and tall in your body. You do not collapse your body. So stay nice and tall, push away from the ground, push yourself up. One thing you want to pay attention to, this is weighted stretching. So it's weight bearing stretching when you're seated, which is why it's a challenge. You're activating your hip flexors and the muscles that attach your legs to the body. Be careful of this position. Be careful of a tilted back pelvis, a tucked pelvis. That's going to pull you back here and collapse your lumbar spine and your thoracic spine where all the fractures are. We want a nice long spine, and the bend here is in the hip. So this straddled leg position is a good thing to practice to increase your range of motion in your adductors, in your hamstrings. And these are muscles that attach to your pelvis. The more flexible they are for you here, the less likely they are to pull on your pelvis and fracture if you slip, trip, stumble, or fall. So for fracture prevention, limber open hips. And then side to side with a long spine. And then bring yourself back to center. Another stretch for this area is Baddha Konasana. You take your soles of your feet, bound angle pose, holding on here so you stay nice and tall. You're not collapsing and rounding yourself. Don't let your head collapse into your body like a turtle. Keep your head away from your shoulders. Use your hands to pull your body forward. And then this is another good one to practice often to keep that flexibility in your inner thighs and your hips, making sure you don't collapse or you don't have that tilted pelvis that's pulling you back. Using your body to lift forward, lengthen your spine, push your knees down. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out. We're going to move into some strengthening postures for the hips, usually 30 seconds to a minute. You do what's appropriate to you. So I need to turn on my timer. I have a clock I use to tell us how fast. Okay, I don't have my timer on. All right, we're using breath, which is another thing I recommend, is to use breath. Okay. So let's move the bolster out of the way. You could do this on the blanket, coming onto your buttocks. Take your hands behind you. You have a choice here. You could do tabletop, which comes up from all fours, really lifting the pelvis up, or you could do reverse plank, lifting your tushy up. So whatever you like to do, this is a posterior chain, working the back of the hip, the back of the body. Take your hands, walk them as close as you can get them to your self to each other, and then point the fingers inward or modify accordingly to whatever you need. Make sure there's no collapse in your chest. Let's go. Take an exhale. Inhale. And then exhale. Push away from the floor and bring yourself up into the posture. Taking breaths here. You're going to push your heels in or your feet in, depending on which variation you chose, to lift or push your pelvis up. Squeeze your tushy and push your buttocks up to help support lifting up the pelvis. Back legs where they attach to your pelvis, getting that part of your muscle group, the glute minimus, really strong. Pushing your pelvis up, trying to stretch the front of your body. There's a stretch that comes into the shoulders, a stretch that comes into the wrists. Close your mouth, take deep breaths here. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself down, bring yourself out. Let's rest. You could rest in a kneeling position or crisscross position, whatever you need to do. Close your eyes and catch your breath, noticing what you notice. When the heart's accelerated, you use more muscles. Make sure your elbows are underneath your shoulders to support your posture. Deep breaths. Find alignment in your body always. Take one more breath. So let's stretch the hip a little more. Take your blanket, fold your blanket in two, or if you have a bolster, sit up on the bolster or the pillows, and when you elevate your body, you can go a little deeper. It's a little more supportive. So if you do sit on the bolster, put a blanket in front. And then bring your legs into a crisscross position. Notice which leg is in front. From here, we're going to keep our spine nice and long and just bring the body forward. You're going to start to feel a pretty deep stretch in the hip capsule, in the hips. As you flex forward, creating a little deepening of the stretch there, more space in the hips for more movement and stronger forces when we actually move into postures, or if you're doing some other form of exercise to strengthen your hips. So whatever leg is in the front, walk your body over to that leg, turning towards that leg. Imagine you have a raw egg in between your hip and right where your hip is, so in between the low belly and the top thigh, so that when you're trying to crack the egg, that's where the folding is or the bending is, not trying to get lower by rounding your spine. Don't let your spine do the work, let your hip do the work. And this is what we need to learn for bone health, is how to move in our hip, not in our spine. And then keep yourself tall. Let's go to the other side. Where you may experience this is diagonally behind you on the opposite side. You may feel the waist muscles, you may feel the low back muscles. If you have hip issues, you may feel this right where the connection is, where the egg is that you're trying to crack. So do what feels appropriate to you, always choosing what's right for you. Feel that stretch. This could be a great low back relief. Also can be freeing up for pain in the hip if you have any discomfort in your hip. And then bring yourself back up. So that was one leg was in front. Let's do the other leg. So part of yoga therapy for bone health is to learn how to move safely and to get that stretching where we need in a safe manner. Now this leg is in front, bringing yourself forward, noticing on this side, easier, harder. This is the not natural way usually of sitting in a crisscross position, because without direction, you go into where you normally would go. And we usually do pick one side. So coming forward, feel that stretch wherever, usually posterior hip, because we activate the glute medius here. It's a external or an abductor. So adductor is when we bring our legs together, and abduction is when we take them apart. So it moves the leg away from the body and it helps your trunk when you're flexing. Now, whatever leg is in front, bring your body over to that side, feeling, noticing, experiencing what you experience here. Finding the safe place to be. If you do have a lot of tension or sensations, breathe to it. And then come up and go to the other side. Bringing your body into that position where you feel like you're cracking an egg. You still have a nice front, long spine. Part of how we create that daily stimulation to bones is we pull on them. So in one hand, we need stronger, heavier muscles to demand more each moment. We also need the pulling or the flexibility or the range of motion so that we're more likely to do movement or be able to get deeper in our practice or in our movements. Take one more breath and then bring yourself up, bring yourself out. We're going to come into a front hip joint strengthener. So this is going to strengthen the front of your hips here. And it's plank pose. Many of you know plank pose. So if you have issues with your wrists and you need to do the dolphin or the forearm version of plank is like this, right? Whether you're modified or whether your knees are up. If you're doing the modification from here, look at my pelvis. Your pelvis needs to come forward, so your core needs to manage it. Don't keep your pelvis up here and try to do plank. So have your hands preferably close to your shoulders. Let's take one foot back, kick through the heel, stretch the calf, and then do the same thing on the other side. Stretching the heel back so that you can stretch that calf. Keep moving, stretching back, stretch your calves. So let's come into plank. You choose modification or full plank. Bring one foot back and then the other. And then start to prepare yourself here. So at first, why don't you come into a wide leg if you're up all the way. And then maybe wide arms. And just move yourself around here. Tushy in the air a little bit can be helpful if you're feeling too much intensity in the wrists or the hands. Or you could be neutral. But make sure you do not hammock. Really push away from the floor. And then walk your feet back to the position that is neutral, and your hands as well. And then push through your heels, push your feet into the floor. Feel that. Now push away from the floor with your feet, really pushing your pelvis up towards the sky, your legs up towards the sky. Push your knees up towards the sky. Spread your fingers, push away from the ground. Look forward to the front edge of your mat. Feel the power in your body. Push your fingers, all 10 of them, into the floor. And then make sure the pinky toes are touching as well. So let's do core support here to protect your low back. Bring your awareness to your pubic bone, the base of your trunk. Take an inhale. As you exhale, pull your pubic bone up towards your lower ribs. It will tilt your pelvis back and may flatten out your low back. Inhale to release. Exhale, draw the pubic bone up towards low ribs. And release. Pushing through the heels, push your hands in. Exhale. Keep your head active and lifted forward. Exhale. And then one more breath. And then go ahead, bring yourself down. Come into a position to rest, to catch your breath. Closing your eyes. Close your mouth. Elbows are underneath your shoulders. And breathe down to your belly. Feel the heart rate. Notice if you breathe up. Notice if your body rises, if you breathe to your heart. And try to direct the breath down deeper to help bring in more oxygen, to supply the muscles, to slow down the heart rate. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and open your eyes. Those two postures we just did, the plank and the reverse plank or tabletop, are total body movements. So stretching and strengthening a lot of your body. Let's come into a deep hip stretch, because then we're going to go to standing. And when we come to standing, we want to be able to go really deep, load in deep and safe into our hip. We're going to do pigeon. And pigeon with a bolster is a really nice thing to practice. So having rolled up towels or a pillow, or even a block if you don't have those, or a block with the bolster. So I'll show you how to come into this. You bring your foot forward and the right foot forward. Let's do right foot. And then bring your right foot over to the left, coming so that your hamstring area, the back of your thigh, is on the block, on the bolster. So the higher up you are from the ground, the easier it is. If you have a really strong practice and a lot of flexibility in your body, then you could do just the bolster underneath your leg or the block under your leg. You could try that. Move the back knee back. So you're stretching the back hip, you're stretching the front hip. And then the body, pushing your body away. So this is a safe way to do pigeon with support. You can move a little side to side. We're in that front leg, hopefully the right side. We're in the right side in that hip capsule, doing a lot of deep stretching there. So see how that feels for your body to do this. If you want to lengthen here, you could bring up the opposite hand, which would be the left hand. Now you're adding a stretch into the hip flexor on the opposite side. You could do both hands up. You can keep your hands down, choosing whatever feels right for you. Try to get your pelvis to come out, or your torso out of your pelvis, and not be too far forward with your body. So keep pushing yourself up and away. If you felt that you could go down a little lower, you could take the block out and be just on the bolster, depending on the flexibility you have in your body. What the bolster does here is it keeps the leg forward for us to go into that external rotation. It's a lot of weight in the hip capsule, so make sure that this is safe for you to do, going into whatever variation is appropriate for you. Nice deep hip stretch, really stretching the heck out of that front hip, especially the back of the hip, the posterior. This also stretches the muscles that can affect the sciatica nerve. Take one more breath, and then you bring yourself up. Don't round your spine, keep your spine nice and long. Bring yourself all the way out, and we'll go to the other side. So even if you have a strong practice, sometimes I think it's nice to do all of the support to bring yourself in to the flexion and the joint, and then weight bear. So bringing yourself, you bring the left foot across, the knee goes out to the side. So that's an indication you're going into external rotation. Kneecap is pointing out to the side. And then you find this posture, back leg goes back, front thigh rests on the bolster and on the block to keep you elevated. You have close to a right angle in that front knee, and you have a lengthened back leg, really stretching the back front hip now on that opposite leg. So deep stretch in the front of the back of the hip, working to get your body to come out of the pelvis, not forward. You could use your hands to keep pushing yourself up here. Pay attention. Now, counterindications or people to be careful. I would suggest if you have an anterior hip or a posterior hip even, any hip replacement, I'd say to just be in your body and feel your way into it. So depending on how far out you are from that surgery, and just being very body aware. All of us should be body aware. You can move a little side to side. If you want to bring the opposite hand up or both hands up, do whatever feels right for you in your body. It's your practice. Let your body weight go, really feel that. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself up, bring yourself out. Come to rest for a second, just noticing how you feel. And then come all the way out. So today, loving our hips involves pulling on them, pushing on them, stretching them. Put your bolster off to the side. Come onto your blanket. We're going to come to standing slowly. We're going to come through a deep hip flexion, doing a lot of movement, safe movement, proper movement from down to up with our hip, and then also loading into the hip. The squatting position is where we find a lot of the studies have shown that that actually stimulates the hip complex and the lower body muscles for healthy aging and healthy bones. So take your knees wide, feet wide, flip your toes under, walk your hands back, and then lift your tushy up. The bend is in the hip. Keep your head forward. From here, pushing one heel at a time towards the ground, stretching the back of your body, heel to the ground, head is forward. Both heels at the same time. And then bend your knees, walk your feet, or walk your hands back to your feet. Now make sure your heels touch the ground here and you're wide in your stance. If your feet are close together, walk them wider. Look forward. Then come up here where you have your hands helping you. Your forearms are on your thighs. And then get your tailbone to move down the back wall, up and down, a little posterior, anterior tilt, stretching the low back and stretching the center of the buttocks. So where the SI joint is, the sacroiliac joint. Let your head be forward to the front edge of your mat. If you want a little bit more intensity, you can come up into a position where you have your hands forward. The bend is in the hip joint, not in the spine. Lift your toes off to feel that you are in the back of your body. And then push into the edges, the pinky toe edges. Feel like you're ripping the mat. Push them away from each other. Take one more breath, and then bring yourself slowly up. So that's a variation of the posture called chair pose that we do in the practice. Let's clear the space, bending your hip to come forward, move the blanket off to the side. Grab your block, a chair if you need it, a wall if you have one. Great to practice near a wall. So let's come into triangle. It's a good place to come to when you're standing because it brings a lot of stretch into the hip complex. So from a neutral position, take the block in your left hand and walk your legs wide. So here you would have a chair on the left if you needed a chair, or you have a wall behind you. Lift the left leg, turn the left toes away, and the right heel moves away from you. Now the key to triangle is that the front leg stays straight. The pull is at the back of the body, and you want to make sure when you come into your triangle position, you stay linear here and you don't put tushy back and head forward to get lower. That's not triangle. Triangle is a side body movement, stretching on the side so you stay between two sheets of glass, not body forward, pelvis back. And that's what I see a lot with those that want to go deeper, yet deeper doesn't mean you're in the right place. This is about the hip. Make it be about the hip. Push your pelvis away from you, reach long with the left arm, and go as long as you can, keeping space between the rib and the pelvis, and then bring the block onto the floor. And if you can't go that low, if you have a chair there, you can put your block on the chair. Legs are wide. Squeeze the tushy, push the pelvis forward, push the rib cage back to have the alignment, like as if you were between two sheets of glass. And then whatever your hand is on, you're pushing away. You're not leaning on it. You're pushing away to get long in your spine and to rotate up towards the sky to not only stimulate the hip, but to stimulate the spine, the whole lower part of our body. Long spine, rotated spine. Make sure that your spine is long, reaching away from you, and you could fit between two sheets of glass. Take one more breath. Bring your block with you, go slow, keep your spine straight, working your core. Toes are forward, switch your hands. If you have a chair, move your chair to the other side. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and they're down. Move the right toe away, left heel away. And then push the pelvis away from you. Reach long with your block. And then as you're going down, keep that space between your right hip and your rib cage. So don't collapse, don't bend your spine. Move your pelvis. When you go as low as you can, you push away from the block to get long in your spine. Arm up towards the sky. So you lengthen your spine long away from your pelvis, and then you rotate it up towards the sky. So it's a triangle. It's called Trikonasana. Triangle posture. The bottom part of your body is a triangle. No bend in that front leg. Pulling on that hamstring muscle, pulling on the pelvis, and then also compressing the front hip into the pelvis to create stimulation to the bones, strengthening the muscles with all the work it takes to hold this posture. And the bigger, stronger muscles equal bigger, stronger bones. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way up. Bring yourself all the way out. Put the block off to the side. Let's find the posture of alignment, Tadasana Mountain. Bring your toes off the floor. Spread your toes, put them back down. Take your hands down to the ground, push them back. Push your feet, all parts of it, the top part, the pinky toe edge, the heel. Now push the top thighs back. And then squeeze the tushy, pull the tailbone down. So you go into a neutral pelvis. If there was water in your pelvis, there would be no spilling out the front edge, the back edge of your pelvis. Then push away from the ground to get tall. Push your shoulders away from your ears. Push your hands back. Lift your heart. Keep your ribs not flaring, the lower ribs. Lengthen the back neck, chin is parallel towards the ground. This is Tadasana Mountain. Breathing here. If closing your eyes feels good for you, close your eyes. Take one more breath. From here, let's go into tree. Let's challenge ourselves with balance. Push yourself over to one side. Bend the opposite toes. Keep your pelvis forward. Don't move your pelvis to think you need to get your knee all the way to the side. Move it to where it goes. And then bring it up in between your ankle and your knee. Don't push on that inner knee joint. Pushing down with your hands away from the ground. This is tree. And it's the action of becoming a tree. You should not all of a sudden be a big oak tree. You're becoming a tree. So we're trying to embrace the the power and the structure and the stability of a tree in this posture. So you're working towards that structure and stability. Be okay with whatever it is. The hip is single leg balance, great compressive force to the hip joint. The leg you're standing on, all the muscles are active, getting that hip joint strong, getting the muscles around the hip strong, demanding more from your body, giving your body all of your weight in just one of your legs, not two. Really great posture. Push away, get tall, take one more breath. And then bring your knee forward, come back into the Tadasana mountain. We're going to come over to the other side, pushing your body weight up and over, bending the feet, knee out to the side, bring the foot in between the ankle and the knee, and exploring here what balance feels like on this side of your body. Becoming a tree, trying to embrace the power, the structure, the stability. Wobbling should be a part of this because that's communication throughout your body. That means your nerves, your muscles are communicating ever so slightly on where you are in space. The more aligned and the more straight you stay in perfect alignment, the less movement there is. You could challenge yourself with more. If you come out, come back in. You're not falling out of the posture. You're challenging yourself. You're growing, expanding. Take one more breath. Bringing yourself back, bring yourself out. Take your feet, take the tension out of your feet. Let's come into Warrior Two. I like to do this at the wall. I'm going to do it with a block today to give extra stimulation to my hip. The lateral chain, I'm going to put the block against the wall and push my leg in to hold the block. And this activates the side body. So coming in, if you're not near a wall, that's okay. If you are near a wall, try this. So take the left foot forward, the right foot back, and then start to bend the left leg and put the block there. Go as low as you can. The lower you go, the more of an angle you bring into your knee, the stronger the posture will be. Active back foot. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and they're down, and bring your arms up. From here, push your shoulders away from your ears, and then look over that front hand, pushing the block into the wall. It's the block that touches the wall, not your left buttock. So let the block push into the wall. Keep your left buttock out of it, except to strengthen it. Push the left heel into the floor, the left leg into the block to activate the posterior and the lateral, the side and the back part of your hip joint. Ripping the floor apart, being tall in your torso here. Really strengthening that left hip. Also, the right hip is getting pulled on, and that's going to help to strengthen that as well. Don't let your left buttock touch. Let it be the left knee pushing into the block. Take one more breath. And then take your block. We're going to go to the other side. So bring yourself up. Bring the feet forward. Take the right toes away. And then start by bending and putting the block there. Go as low as you can. The lower you go, the more intensity you're going to bring into your hip. And do what's appropriate for you. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and they're down. Bring your arms up. Push your shoulders away from your ears. Reach long with your fingers. Reach long with your heart. Use the breath. So when the postures are strong, when we're using a lot of muscles, we need more breath. The right buttock does not touch the wall. It's the block. Pushing the knee to stabilize and hold that block up there. Lift your heart. Push that front heel into the floor. So you're in the back of your body. Long spine. Weight bearing, bending and loading into your hip. That's where the pressure is. Building muscles, building bones, building strength. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself up, bring yourself out. Take the block off to the side for a second. And just rest in Tadasana. Close your mouth, breathe down to your hips. Take one more breath. Coming into side angle with the block, with the wall, or with the chair. Wide stance. Left toes are up. Right toes are in. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and they're down. Take your hand on the back thigh as you bend into the front thigh. And then bring your arms up. Reach forward. Block goes on the ground if you're going to use the block, or you could bring your arm onto your leg. So do whatever variation is appropriate, trying to get a long spine and rotate your spine up towards the sky. So you could do a block between your leg, or you could do the arm without the block. Long torso, arm in the air, side angle. Stretching the inner thigh. Feel that inner thigh muscle group stretch. Pulling on your pelvis, pulling on your hips, pushing the hip into itself. Keep your torso away from your leg. You're not collapsing down. You're really pushing away. Create as much strength and as much space. Take one more breath. Bring yourself back up. Bring yourself out. Let's go to the other side. Right toes are away. Left heel is away. Bring your back hand on your thigh. Let's lower down with the inhalation, bending the right leg. Block on the ground if you're using the block, or bring your arm forward, bring your hand onto your thigh. So whatever variation it is you're doing, or you can have your arm on the inside, or on the block, pushing away. Really lower down into this, lengthen away from the pelvis and rotate your trunk forward. Push that front heel into the floor, activating the support of the back of your hip. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself up, bring yourself back to the Tadasana to rest. Let's do twisted triangle before we go down. This is quite a big posture. Doing it with the support of the wall or a chair in front of you can be very helpful. If you are going to do this near the wall, put your back foot, the leg near the wall goes back, and then the front foot comes forward. Take your hand on the wall. You could do this whether you're on the wall or not. You could have a chair in front of you. Bring your arm up so your hips are touching the wall if you're near the wall. You bend as much as you can here. You might need a chair, or if you have enough range of motion in your body to go lower and not bend the hip, but to bend the spine, you could try that. You're trying to push the back foot to lengthen your body to rotate your heart forward. So your pelvis points down to the ground and your heart points forward. Or you try to get the heart to point forward. Twisting, putting a lot of force in the hips, a lot of force in the spine. Push your heart down, add a little back bend to the upper spine. Take one more breath. And then bending the front knee, bring yourself forward, up and out. We'll go to the other side. Twisted triangle is a pretty intense posture. Your back foot goes back, front foot goes forward. You could have a chair there if you'd like. Take your arm up and over. The bend is at the hip, forward, coming forward into twisted triangle on this side. Pushing the back foot away, lengthening your trunk and spiraling your chest forward. Try to find a back bend to intensify this and to keep it safe. Push your feet into the floor, lengthen your spine, and then rotate your trunk forward. Really push that back big toe edge into the floor. Push that back heel to the floor. Front leg stays straight. Take one more breath. When you bend, you keep your spine nice and long. Bring yourself up and out. And then catch your breath in mountain. And then let's come down onto the ground. We'll do a couple of postures to finish up the practice. You'll need your blanket, the bolster eventually, so have your bolster handy if you have one, the strap and the blanket. So a nice way to try to come down is through a squat, if you're able to do that. Toes are out, legs are wide, keeping the bend in your pelvis and your hip the whole time, coming down onto the ground. And then of course, if you need to do something else, do something else. Coming down, come to the side, reach long, and bring yourself onto the blanket. Grab your strap. So let's stretch the low back, the glutes. We did a lot of deep hip work. This is a stretch that will be pulling on the pelvis. We're going to hold this. Instead of a single leg stretch, we're going to do a double leg stretch. So get your strap, hold your hands as high as you can towards your feet. Don't hold your arms down here. Walk your arms up. This will strengthen the wrists and the strength, the grip strength, which is important. Soles of the feet are up towards the sky, pushing out onto the pinky toe edge. Let's pull our legs back towards the wall and push them away with resistance. Keep your legs straight. Feel as much intensity at the back of your legs as you can. You're bending your hips. Push your legs away, pull back. Feel that stretch the back of the legs. Your legs are not touching. Your feet are about a foot apart, or at least 6 to 8 inches apart. Soles of the feet are active. Pull your toes towards you and your heels up towards the sky. So this is not just an enjoyable stretch. This is active, really pushing and pulling. Pull on the pelvis, pull back. Take one more breath and then go ahead and release. Take your strap off to the side. Draw your knees into your chest. Take your knees wide and then bring one sole up towards the sky and then the other. Happy baby to end. Side to side, massaging the low back. If you are able to grab onto your toes with your legs spread, you could do that. If you grab onto your toes and your legs go together, then go back to holding behind the hamstrings. Stretching the hip, the low back, the legs. The final posture is Shavasana, which is a posture of integration, allowing your body to find the peaceful biochemical balance it needs for bone remodeling. So you could go back to you could do a bolster underneath your knees if you'd like. You could do the Sukha Pranayama, which is the count, the equal 6 on the inhale, 6 on the exhale. Do whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself for a few moments nice and quiet in your mind, quiet in your body, and allow that integration to take place. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Draw one knee at a time into your body, holding onto your knees, rocking side to side, and then coming all the way onto your side, and from here all the way to seated. Bringing your hands together, sit nice and tall in your body, hands to your heart. Pressing your hands to your heart, a couple of breaths to your heart. The place where we love and we are loved. We'll close with a gentle hum. Keep it right around the area of your heart. Take an inhale. Hands up towards your forehead, bowing in gratitude. Namaste. So self-love is really important. Self-love is not selfish, or it is selfish in the positive way. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we take care of anyone else? If we're not happy and fulfilled in our lives, how can we show up to others in that way? All right. So for those of you that were with me last week, I forgot to mention my electricity went out. 18 minutes into our practice, my electricity went out, which was such a shame. So who's here? Anybody that I want to see who was here? If you like this, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Listen to my podcast, Stronger Bones Lifestyle. Today, episode 100 is 100 factors that lead to bone loss, and learn what those are so that you can change that inside of your body. So let me know how you are. I want to make sure you're still here with me on this love day. Want to make sure that was okay. Hi, Anne. Nice to have you. Perfect. Stacy, have you been here before? Can't remember. Lots of ways to continue the work with me, whether it's the physical practice or all the other things, cooking classes monthly, share lots of gut information, lots of healing information. So visit my website, debbierobinson.com, for more information. A lot of information there. Love to know if any of you here have done anything else with me, cooking classes or gut work. Great. Esta, love to hear that. Oh, you did listen to the podcast. Great. Did you listen to the podcast today? That's my 100th episode, which is quite an accomplishment. Feels really great. You're welcome. I hope that your hips all feel okay. That's a pretty deep hip workout today. Okay, great. Oh, perfect, Stacy. Well, I look forward to speaking with you. Terry, good. Anne, all right. Well, thanks. Glad to have you ladies here. We're all on the same journey, and that's to be as strong and healthy as we can be for the rest of our lives. So I'll share with you whatever I know are the ways to do that as a functional health coach, as a yoga therapist, as a chef. And I take my whole cooking aspect really is the depth of knowledge I've learned from running functional labs, understanding inflammation, gut health, digestion, absorption, really important to optimize all that for health. I know, isn't that crazy, Terry? So please go to the podcast and leave me reviews. I definitely need some more reviews. I want to hear what you have to say, what you think. I get a lot of feedback from people through emails or conversations, but I would also like that to be on the podcast platform. So if you go to the bottom of the front page, you'll see a place where you could give a rating. I'd love it if you'd click that and give me a rating, and then reach out to me if there's anything else you need. All right, Stacy, I look forward to meeting you later today. Have a nice day, ladies. Bye-bye.